Sebastian doted on Rosalind for over 20 years. She thought they would naturally end up together, get married, have children, and live happily ever after, until Sebastian brought home a girl and told her, "Rosalind, this is your sister-in-law." Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. Mr. Dan, I've decided to pursue my career in Europe. On the other end of the phone, Mr. Dan beamed with joy. You should have come sooner. With your talent, you'd definitely be an internationally renowned photographer by now if you'd arrived earlier. Rosalind smiled politely. Thank you for the kind words, Mr. Dan. So when can you come? I recently met several fashion magazine editors in Milan who are very interested in your photography and eager to meet you. Rosalind paused thoughtfully before replying. Probably in about 2 weeks. I need to wrap up some matters here first. That's fine. Your brother dotes on you so much. He definitely wouldn't feel comfortable letting you, a young woman, come abroad alone. Have a good talk with him. After hanging up, Rosalind looked at the woman trying on a wedding dress in the distance, and the man standing beside her watching with a smile, then gave a bitter laugh. Sebastian did dote on her. Even Sebastian's mom had teased him before. What kind of brother sticks to his sister every day? People might misunderstand. Sebastian raised an eyebrow. Misunderstand what? Misunderstand that you're not siblings, but a couple. At that moment, Rosalind felt both embarrassed and surprised. But when she met Sebastian's tender, affectionate gaze, her cheeks flushed slightly. Sebastian, just like now, wore a gentle smile as he looked at her softly and replied, "Then let them misunderstand. People live in moments." That moment became Rosalind's sweetest memory in this lifetime. She had been waiting for Sebastian to break through that layer of window paper, so she could nod without hesitation and say yes. Yet she waited and waited, only to see his gaze turn toward another girl. Selena is his secretary. At that time, Sebastian placed several resumes in front of Rosalind and said, "Rosalind, help me choose one." Rosalind hesitated. "I'm not really sure about this. You should let the professional HR choose." But Sebastian said, "My secretary might interact with you frequently in the future. So pick someone you like, it'll make your interactions more comfortable." Selena was personally chosen by her to be Sebastian's secretary. But what she didn't expect was that while she thought she was selecting a secretary, she was actually choosing a sister-in-law for herself. Rosalind, not far away. Selena excitedly called out to her, "Come help me look, what do you think of this wedding dress? Your brother is so perfunctory, no matter which one I try on. He just says it looks good without giving any real opinion." Rosalind sighed and said, "As long as you think your wedding dress looks good, that's all that matters." Selena pouted coquettishly. "Rosalind, you know my background isn't great. I'm afraid my taste isn't refined enough and might embarrass your brother. But you're different. Our family's big photographer must have excellent taste. I only know photography. I can judge composition, but I really can't choose wedding dresses." Selena felt somewhat dejected, her tone tinged with grievance. "Rosalind, do you still not accept me?" Rosalind parted her lips, wanting to defend herself, yet found herself at a loss for words. She hadn't rejected Selena, she simply couldn't comprehend how Sebastian, who had once cherished her like a treasure in his palms, could suddenly fall in love with someone else. "Sebastian, go check on Rosalind. I think she might still be upset with me about what happened last time," Sebastian said. "No, it won't. I wronged her last time. Maybe we should postpone our wedding until Rosalind calms down. We can hold it whenever she's no longer upset." Sebastian frowned slightly. "How can we cancel the wedding just because she's unhappy? But she's my sister. I want her blessing." Sebastian pondered for a moment before turning and slowly walking toward Rosalind. His tone was somewhat cold, still upset about what happened last time. Rosalind turned her head away. "I'm not. Last time you suddenly hugged me." Selena, misunderstanding was only natural. What younger sister throws herself into her brother's arms? "Rosalind, you're an adult now, you should know better." Rosalind looked at the slightly reproachful expression on his face, and her eyes instantly reddened. Back when Sebastian still doted on her, it was almost always Sebastian who clung to her. When outsiders were present, if she put even the slightest distance between herself and Sebastian, he would pull her back to his side with visible displeasure. When she went to the countryside for inspiration, he followed. She went to Africa to photograph animal migrations, and he followed along. He had promised that no matter when or where, he would always stand behind her, so that whenever Rosalind turned around, she would surely see him. That day, her photography won the gold medal in an international competition, and she instinctively hugged Sebastian, wanting to share her joy with him. But Selena walked in without knocking and happened to witness the moment. From that day onward, Sebastian treated her with icy indifference, avoiding her whenever possible. Rosalind took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. "I'm sorry. Last time I didn't handle things properly and caused sister-in-law to misunderstand. I'll be more careful with my words and actions from now on. It won't happen again." Sebastian gave a slight nod. "It's good that you recognize your mistake." She responded with a soft then said, "You two continue looking at wedding dresses. I'm not feeling well and will take my leave first." Tears streamed down uncontrollably as she turned to leave the bridal shop. Rosalind wiped them away roughly with the back of her hand, then pulled out her phone and booked a flight. 2 weeks later, she would board that plane and leave this place forever. Leaving Sebastian behind, Rosalind stayed out until dawn before returning home. Making the decision to leave took but a moment, yet the feelings built over 20-some years weren't false. She wasn't that strong, truly able to let go completely the instant she decided to. To avoid regretting her choice, she thought it best to minimize any encounters with Sebastian over the next fortnight. When she returned to the Hawks' villa, the house was pitch black. Rosalind didn't turn on the lights as she dragged her exhausted body toward her bedroom. Suddenly, a voice called out to her from the living room, "Rosalind." She turned around and saw someone sitting on the sofa. "Is something the matter, Ms. Selina?" Selina was wearing a black lace camisole nightgown, leaning seductively against the armrest of the sofa with a faint smile. "This nightgown was bought for me by Sebastian. Do you like it?" As she sat up straight, the faint red marks on her chest and waist gradually became visible. Yet against the black lace, they only enhanced her sensual allure. She gently touched the red mark on her neck, letting out a pained ah, her voice dripping with complaint as she whined, "Your brother's taste in wedding dresses is terrible, but his taste in nightgowns isn't bad at all," he said. "When I wear this, he just can't control himself." Rosalind stood on the stairs, looking down at her performance with a cold gaze, curling her lips into a mocking smirk. "Selina, tone it down." "What tone? Slutty." Selina burst into laughter. "But your brother just loves the slutty ones. The moment he gets home, he can't wait for me to put on this nightgown. And then, you don't need to say any more. I don't want to hear it, whether you want to hear it or not. That's the truth. He's obsessed with my body. What does 20 years of feelings matter? Men will always choose whoever matches them best in bed." Rosalind couldn't be bothered to waste more words on her and turned to leave. "Keep performing your one-woman show. I don't have time to watch your act." Yet Selina persisted relentlessly, lifting her skirt as she chased after her. "From so far away, you can't see the marks your brother left on me. Can you, Rosalind? Don't walk away, come here. Take a closer look." As she spoke, Selina had already caught up and grabbed her arm. Rosalind felt a wave of nausea rise in her stomach and instinctively pulled away. "Don't touch me." Not far away, Sebastian emerged from the bedroom and asked, "What are you two talking about so late at night?" Rosalind was about to speak when she saw Selina flash her a sly smile. Then, in an instant, it turned to terror. "Ah!" Selina tumbled down the stairs. "Selina!" Sebastian set down his glass of milk and rushed over, pulling Selina into a tight embrace. "Are you okay?" Selina lay weakly in his arms and said faintly, "I'm fine. Don't blame Rosalind, she didn't mean to." Sebastian looked up at Rosalind, his eyes filled with disappointment. "Rosalind, no matter how much you resent Selina, you shouldn't have pushed her down the stairs. Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" When he looked at Selina again, his tone softened into doting tenderness. He bent down and gently picked her up. "Let's go back to the room so I can check if you're hurt." Selina blushed. "In front of Rosalind from now on, we shouldn't be so intimate. It's natural for a sister to feel possessive of her brother. You used to dote on her alone, and now suddenly there's me too. She must be struggling to accept it. We should think more about Rosalind and give her more time to adjust," Sebastian said coldly. "She'll have to get used to it eventually." He steadily carried Selina back to the bedroom, while Selina turned her head from his embrace and flashed a V4 victory sign at Rosalind. Rosalind suddenly felt as if the world had become something she no longer recognized. Selina's appearance had completely shattered her world into fragments. She couldn't understand why Sebastian would fall for someone like Selina. Could it really be as Selina said, that between love and desire, people always choose worldly thrills? Rosalind didn't understand, but now, she no longer wanted to. Early the next morning, Rosalind went to the magazine office. She had worked here as a columnist photographer for 3 years and had excellent relationships with all her colleagues. The editor-in-chief was somewhat surprised when he received her resignation letter. "Is it because of the salary? You can bring it up directly, and I'll discuss it with the president." Rosalind shook her head with a smile. "Thank you, editor-in-chief, but it's not about the salary." "Then what is it?" "I have other life plans now." The editor immediately understood and said with a smile, "You're preparing to marry Sebastian and become Mrs. Hawthorne, aren't you? That's good too. All these years, he's picked you up and dropped you off at work every single day without fail, rain or shine. He's truly kept you at the center of his heart. If you marry him, it would be a good thing." I won't stand in your way. Rosalind wanted to explain when she heard the first part. Sebastian was getting married. But the bride wasn't her. But upon hearing the editor-in-chief finish speaking, she lost all desire to explain. The entanglement between her, Sebastian, and Selina was far too complicated to be explained in just a few words. Now she just wanted to quickly complete the resignation handover and leave this place of heartbreak in half a month. By the way, Rosalind, when is your wedding day? You must send me an invitation so I can toast to your happiness. Rosalind gave an awkward smile. Just then, the receptionist Kate excitedly knocked on the door and poked her head in. Rosalind, your boyfriend's here to pick you up again. Here there's a surprise today. Rosalind stepped out of the magazine office and saw Sebastian leaning against his black Rolls-Royce Cullinan, deep in thought. As she approached, she finally understood what Kate meant by surprise. The black car interior was completely filled with roses dripping with vibrant red. Every space was packed with roses except for the passenger seat. The back seats and trunk were all stuffed full of them. Behind her, she could still hear the voices of her close female colleagues from work. They were all hiding behind the company's entrance sign, peeking in this direction while giggling and playfully shoving each other. In the past, Sebastian would come to pick her up, sometimes bringing along things she liked, small cakes, milk tea, or all sorts of snacks she enjoyed. The colleagues had seen it many times, but they still teased her suggestively each time. Every time your boyfriend comes, the whole office gets treats. We're all benefiting from Rosalind's good fortune. Rosalind used to just let it slide, responding to her colleagues' jokes with a smile before sharing what Sebastian had brought for her with everyone. Now, I suppose everyone is waiting to divide up those roses in his car, she called out. Sebastian. Sebastian looked up. But his expression was unpleasant, his attitude still cold. Don't call me by my name directly from now on. Call me brother. Rosalind was momentarily stunned, then she nodded slowly. Understood, brother. I was too harsh with my words last night. Please don't take it to heart. But you're not a child anymore. Don't ever do something as dangerous as pushing someone down the stairs again. Rosalind looked up in disbelief and laughed in anger. So, you came here today to call me to account. Sebastian's face darkened. You still don't realize you're wrong, do you, Sebastian? You've known me for over 20 years. Even if I really wanted to harm her, I wouldn't do something so stupid in my own home, Rosalind shouted angrily. But instantly regretted it. After all, she was leaving anyway. No amount of explanation would help now. Forget it. Just leave. Don't disturb me at work. When Rosalind returned to the company entrance, her colleagues who had been joking around moments ago seemed to sense something was wrong, their expressions shifting to concern. Rosalind, did you two have a fight? Don't be angry anymore. He's come with so many roses to make amends. Give him another chance. That's right, Rosalind. You're just unaware of your own good fortune. A boyfriend like him is hard to come by, even if you searched with a lantern. Rosalind kept a straight face and said softly, stop crowding around here. Get back to work. Her outstanding photography skills gave her considerable influence at the magazine. The group of young girls below all listened to her obediently, and could only hang their heads as they returned to the company. Kate, who was closest to her, quietly pulled her aside and asked, Rosalind, can I go ask for a rose? I just saw his whole cart of flowers, even the vases were ready. Rosalind rubbed her temples. I'll buy you another one. Your vase won't stay empty. Back at her workstation, she was still restless and distracted. She had barely managed to edit a few photos taken earlier when her phone rang. Which of these sets do you like best? Selina had sent several images showing different styles of nightgowns. Though nightgowns might be too generous, they looked more like lingerie designed for seduction. What should be exposed is exposed, and what shouldn't be exposed is also exposed. Soon, these messages were withdrawn again. Selina, sorry, sent to the wrong person. Rosalind turned off her phone and threw it into the drawer. In truth, both of them knew Selina hadn't sent it by mistake. She had deliberately sent it for her to see. It wasn't until the end of her shift that she finally took her phone out of the drawer and turned it on. No missed calls, no messages, no WeChat, nothing at all. Before, if she was unreachable for more than half an hour, Sebastian would keep calling and messaging, or rush straight to the magazine office to find her. But now, none of that happens anymore. There was a notification that someone had updated their moments. She clicked on it and was startled to see a familiar scene. Inside a classic black Rolls-Royce Cullinan, there were nothing but bright red roses. Selina stood in front of the car, holding a bouquet of roses, smiling happily. The caption reads, "Thank you, darling. This is the best birthday gift I've ever received in the whole world." Oh, so today is Selina's birthday. Everything he carries in his car from now on will be prepared for Selina. After work, Rosalind didn't feel like going home, but Sebastian's mom called her, sounding worried. Rosalind, Why have you been working so late these past few days? It's not safe for a girl like you. I'll have Sebastian pick you up. Rosalind didn't want Torridine his car anymore. Neither the passenger seat nor the roses belonged to her. No need, Sebastian's mom. I'll take a taxi home. Alright, take care then. Rosalind hailed a cab. When she got home, both Sebastian and Selina were there. Selina was dragging a large suitcase out of her room just as she spotted Rosalind. You're back. Rosalind flared up instantly. Who said you could enter my room? Sebastian slammed his cup down heavily upon hearing this. I did. What of it? Without my permission. How dare you enter my room and touch my things? Rosalind, this is the Hua residence. Selina is my fiancée. She can enter any room she pleases in the Hua household. Rosalind felt as if a bucket of ice-cold water had been poured over her in an instant. Selina gently scolded, Sebastian. How could you speak to Rosalind like that? Rosalind will be hurt. After saying this, she turned to Rosalind and said, Rosalind, I heard from the servants at home that Sebastian's clothes and shoes used to be kept in your bedroom. Girls have a lot of clothes, and he was taking up half your wardrobe, leaving no room for yours. So I took the initiative to move all his clothes out and put them in our shared bedroom. Sebastian had been clinging to her very tightly before. From childhood to adulthood, she never received a single love letter, all thanks to Sebastian. Later, he simply moved all his clothes into her bedroom, claiming it was so he could wear outfits and ties Rosalind personally selected for him to work every morning. She knew the exact location of every piece of his clothing and ties in the wardrobe better than he did. Rosalind quickly went upstairs and rushed into her own room. The mess on the floor almost made her think the room had been burgled. Her clothes, shoes, and cosmetics were scattered everywhere in utter chaos. Rosalind pointed angrily at the mess and demanded of Selina, Is this how you take clothes? Selina immediately teared up. I'm sorry, Rosalind, I just wasn't careful. You accidentally turned my room into a post-typhoon disaster zone. That's quite an impressive accident you've managed. Sebastian frowned and scolded. Rosalind, what's your tone? Rosalind laughed. So this time I did absolutely nothing. Yet it's still my fault, is that it? Selina is your future sister-in-law. You should respect her. Sebastian, do you want to come see for yourself? Sebastian walked slowly upstairs, momentarily stunned when he saw the complete mess in the room, but it lasted only a moment. The next second, he looked at Selina with a hint of indulgence, chuckling helplessly. Let's have the servants tidy our bedroom from now on, but I don't want others touching my clothes, especially nightgowns. She emphasized the word nightgowns deliberately, her face quickly flushing crimson. Sebastian nodded resignedly. All right, then I'll do the tidying from now on. You just sit and rest. Selina playfully stuck out her tongue. Sebastian, am I being a bit silly? It's fine, I'm here. It's okay if you're a little silly. Rosalind closed her eyes for a moment. Never before had she loathed the damned handover period so intensely. Otherwise, she would have long since flown across the ocean, never having to endure this chaotic and disgusting scene again. Rosalind, look how many of your clothes and equipment Selina has ruined. Give me a total, and I'll compensate you. Rosalind laughed in anger. Sebastian actually resorted to throwing money at the problem. It was her who got hit. Selina even deliberately nudged her arm and whispered, Rosalind, you can ask for more. With me here, no matter how much you say, he has to give it to you, Sebastian said dotingly. So now you're siding with outsiders, teaming up with others to empty your husband's wallet. Selina pulled a face at him. From now on, I'll be Rosalind's sister-in-law. As the eldest sister-in-law is like a mother, of course I'll side with Rosalind. Rosalind let out a cold laugh, taking sides with outsiders. An outsider, yes, now the two of them are the closest, and she, merely an adopted daughter of the Hua family, was indeed nothing more than an outsider. The phone suddenly rang. It was Mr. Dan. She composed herself and answered. Mr. Dan. Mr. Dan asked her, Rosalind, I remember you took a great set of bird photography before. The editor-in-chief of the magazine here wants to take a look. Could you send me the negatives again? Sure, Mr. Dan. Just a moment. Rosalind returned to her bedroom. She was accustomed to using a film camera, and all her previous negative films were stored in a small locked drawer. She instinctively reached for the keys to unlock it, only to find the entire cabinet dripping wet. Rosalind, I'm so sorry, I accidentally spilled coffee earlier. I was afraid it would stain your cabinet, so I washed the whole thing with water. Rosalind felt her heart grow colder with each word. She couldn't be bothered to argue with Selina any longer and quickly unlocked it with her key. Her heart finally sank as she pulled open the drawer. Row after row of film reels, all soaked in water. Some had already scattered, some had changed color, and even more were tangled together haphazardly, turning the water brown. Just all the photographic negatives of her work from the past 3 years, completely ruined. Rosalind trembled with rage, unable to utter a single word. Sebastian had entered at some point unnoticed. Glancing at the scene in the drawer, he said indifferently, "Calculate how much these films are worth too. Add it all up, I'll cover the compensation for Selena." Rosalind finally exploded. Can she even afford to compensate? She has no idea what these films mean to me, and don't you know either? Sebastian frowned slightly. But the films are already ruined. Losing your temper won't change anything, will it? Selena was just trying to help me tidy the clothes. Spilling coffee was just an accident. Does accident absolve all responsibility? If someone accidentally runs a person over with a car, does a simple sorry make it okay? Rosalind, Sebastian's tone turned stern. Stop being unreasonable. How can film compare to human lives? If the photos are gone, just take new ones. Is it really that serious? Over the phone, Mr. Dan sounded concerned about her. Rosalind, are you alright? Did something happen at home? Rosalind let out a heavy sigh and replied, Mr. Dan, the negatives might not be available for now. I'll try to reshoot a set of photos when I get the chance and send them to you. Alright, no need to rush. The visa processing will take about 2 weeks anyway. Okay. Sebastian caught the key word. Visa. Are you going abroad? Rosalind hung up the phone. She took a moment to calm herself, then silently began cleaning up the mess on the floor. Mr. Dan's visa has expired. He's too old to travel back and forth, so he asked me to handle it for him. Sebastian asked suspiciously, Mr. Dan's daughter is in the country, isn't she? Why didn't he ask his daughter to do it? Rosalind snapped irritably. Why don't you call his daughter and ask her yourself? I don't have that kind of free time. Then stop asking so many questions. Rosalind spent the entire night cleaning out the bedroom. Though Selena had dirted and messed up clothes and shoes, she decided not to take them either, simply piling them all in the corner of the wardrobe. A few rolls of film were salvaged by her, but the negatives, having been soaked in water, were severely distorted and unusable. As for those bottles and jars of cosmetics, the liquid ones had mostly leaked out, and the powdered ones were completely soaked through, all rendered useless. Selena, today was just a warning. Selena sent her a WeChat message. It lingered for 2 minutes, stuck on the verge of those 2 minutes. It was then recalled. This way ensures Rosalind can see it without leaving evidence. But after last time, Rosalind became more cautious. The moment she received the WeChat message, she took a screenshot. With a cold laugh, she forwarded the screenshot to Selena. This time, Selena remained silent for a long while. Rosalind really wanted to laugh. Did she really think her tricks could succeed again and again, without her being the least bit prepared? That Selena had underestimated her far too much. After about 10 minutes, Selena finally replied, Selena, what do you mean? Rosalind, nothing much, just a warning. After sending this, she turned off her phone. Let her withdraw it or not, she didn't want to care either Sebastian what would happen after he saw it. From the day she made up her mind to leave, she shouldn't have held any expectations for him anymore. During breakfast the next morning, Sebastian's mom noticed her pale complexion and asked with concern, Rosalind, did you not sleep all night? You look terrible. Rosalind responded with a soft didn't sleep well, but it's fine. A few days of rest will do the trick, Sebastian's mom said. Right, you should take good care of yourself these days. You'll have your hands full with Sebastian's wedding preparations. Rosalind looked up. They've set a date for the wedding. Yes, it's next weekend. Didn't Sebastian tell you? That boy used to run to you for every little thing, but now he's keeping such a big event like his wedding from you. Honestly, next weekend. Rosalind glanced at the calendar. That day happened to be the day of her departure. At that moment, Sebastian and Selena emerged from the bedroom. Selena acted as if nothing had happened, cheerfully greeting Rosalind. Rosalind, I've already discussed it with Sebastian. You're going to be the lead photographer at our wedding. You absolutely must make me look good in the photos. Rosalind flatly refused. I have something else that day. I can't make it. Selena pouted. Are you still upset about what happened yesterday? I'm sorry. Okay. If you're still angry, I'll kneel to apologize. As she spoke, she bent slightly as if about to kneel. Sebastian pulled Selena up by the arm. She doesn't deserve you kneeling to her. Sebastian's mom stepped in to mediate. Selena, there's no need for this. Rosalind treasures her film reels more than anything. She's definitely upset, but not to the point of requiring a kneel. Selena said pitifully, I just feel like I can't do anything right. I'm really sorry, Rosalind. Sebastian comforted her. Just be more careful next time. Let's eat first. Weren't you just complaining about being hungry? Selena stuck out her tongue playfully. That's still because of you. If you hadn't insisted on fooling around this morning, I wouldn't be so tired and hungry. Alright, it's all my fault. Sit down and eat first. Sebastian pulled out the chair for her, settled Selena in, then personally tied the napkin around her neck. Only after attending to her did he finally take his seat beside Selena. He spread jam on his toast while saying, Rosalind, no matter what comes up next weekend. Clear your schedule for my wedding. Come be our wedding photographer, consider it honoring our 20+ years of sibling bond. The doorbell suddenly rang. The maid went to answer it, only to find a stranger standing outside. May I ask who you're looking for? The visitor was a plainly dressed middle-aged woman who smiled and said, "Hello, may I ask if Rosalind is here? I'm from a charity organization. She contacted us about donating some clothes to impoverished communities in the mountains. And we arranged to pick them up today." Rosalind immediately stood up. "I'm Rosalind. The clothes are all packed and ready. Please wait just a moment." Rosalind went upstairs and packed all her clothes into several large bags, which she then handed to the middle-aged woman. The woman expressed her gratitude. "Thank you for your kindness, Ms. Rosalind. With the weather turning cold recently, many girls in the mountains don't have enough clothes for winter. These donations will help a lot of people. It's all right. Please deliver the clothes to them as soon as possible." "Okay, don't worry, wait." Sebastian suddenly walked over with a puzzled look, glancing down at the 6 or 7 large bags of clothes piled on the floor, his brow furrowing. "Are you donating all your clothes?" Sebastian's mom also seemed surprised. "Rosalind, even if you want to do charity, we can just donate money. Why give away all your clothes? It's getting cold, what will you wear?" Rosalind looked at Sebastian, gave a light laugh, and said, "Didn't you say you'd help Selena compensate me? These clothes are old, I don't want them anymore. With the money, I'll buy new ones. Is that not okay?" Sebastian studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Fine. How much do you want? I'll transfer it to you now." Rosalind held up a single finger. Sebastian said, "1 million. Sure, no, 10 million. Selena immediately grew anxious. A few pieces of clothing, how could they possibly be worth 10 million? Rosalind gave her a cold smirk before turning to Sebastian and saying, $1. These clothes were all things Sebastian had insisted on buying for her before. Now she had decided to leave, unwilling to take any of his belongings, let alone his money. As he himself had said, this was the Hua family, and she was an outsider. $1 payment in full, no debts owed, over 20 years of affection. Wiped clean with a single stroke, Sebastian grew slightly impatient. "Rosalind, what exactly do you want? Will you give it or not? Transfer the money if you will, otherwise forget it." Sebastian pondered for a moment, then transferred the money to her. He said, "I've fulfilled my promise. Consider this as compensation for Selena. Don't give Selena any more attitude over this matter in the future." Rosalind looked at the extra dollar in her bank account and smiled faintly. "Don't worry. Never again. Also, you'll be the photographer at our wedding. It's Selena's wish, you must come." Rosalind paused to think. Her flight was at night, their wedding night, so she nodded. All right. In the days that followed, Rosalind hardly ever returned to the Hua residence. She made a trip to the countryside and took another set of bird photographs, which she sent to Mr. Dan. Mr. Dan was thrilled after seeing them and immediately video called her. "Rosalind, your composition and use of color have improved even more. Several magazines are vying for your work now. When you get here, we'll meet with them all and carefully choose the best one." Receiving affirmation from others, Rosalind was also delighted. "Great, thank you Mr. Dan. By the way, have you talked to your brother? Does he agree to your future development in Europe?" Rosalind smiled. "He also very much wants me to go." "That's good, then there are no worries." "What a surprise, I thought convincing him would be quite troublesome." Rosalind asked Mr. Dan for his address and shipped all her equipment there first. Mr. Dan agreed to store them for her temporarily until she could pick them up at Mr. Dan's place later. Sebastian and Selena's wedding day arrived, and she directly requested the photography company's camera for herself. Selena got her wish fulfilled by marrying into wealth, her face unable to conceal its triumphant glee. Especially when Rosalind was taking photos, she struck the pose of a victor. Sebastian was chatting with guests, but she refused to let him be, insisting on pulling him back to take photos with her. Sebastian's mom felt sorry for her and advised, "Selena, we've already taken so many. Let Rosalind rest for a while." Selena said, "Rosalind is so amazing. How could she possibly get tired from just a few photos?" "Right Rosalind." Sebastian's mom couldn't hide her displeasure and said unhappily, "I'll have the wedding photographer take your pictures instead. Rosalind needs to rest." But how could the wedding photographer compare to Rosalind? "Today is the most important day of my life with Sebastian, a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. We must have Rosalind capture our happiest moments." Rosalind remained silent. After taking the final photo, she directly handed the camera back to the wedding company. She turned and walked away without another word. Sebastian's mom caught up to her. "Rosalind, where are you going?" Rosalind smiled. Sebastian's mom, "From now on Sebastian will have Selena to take care of him. You should also take good care of your own health. You silly child, you're also my daughter. Don't I still have you? Rosalind smiled, took Sebastian's mom's hand and said, yes, I'll always be your daughter. Sebastian's mom also sighed twice. Rosalind, I really thought you would become my daughter-in-law and call me mom one day. Who knew Sebastian would suddenly? Alright, Sebastian's mom, let's not talk about this anymore. Alright, I won't say anymore. The phone rings, it's Mr. Dan. Rosalind, have you arrived at the airport yet? What time does your flight land? You're Shenyang and I will come pick you up together. I'm about to head out now. Alright, then we'll meet in 8 hours. After hanging up, she checked the time. It was about time to head to the airport. Rosalind didn't even return to the Hua residence, taking a taxi straight to the airport instead. While queuing to board, Selena sent her another message. Selena, thank you for taking that photo of me and Sebastian with your own hands. We both love it very much. In the days to come, remember to call me sister-in-law. Selena, little sister-in-law. May we get along happily in the future. Victory. JPG. Rosalind sneered and took a screenshot. This time, she directly sent the screenshot to Sebastian. Rosalind, bro, wishing you a happy marriage. Goodbye forever. After sending it, she blocked both Sebastian and Selena one by one. From then on, they would be permanently erased from her world. The flight attendant smiled and greeted her. Miss, have a pleasant boarding. Rosalind smiled politely and said, thank you, I had a wonderful time. Then, she boarded the plane without looking back. As the plane landed at Milan airport, Rosalind finally felt a sense of relief. Mr. Dan had mentioned earlier that he and his wife would come to pick her up, but she clearly saw there was another person. Xiaoshu over here. Rosalind walked over with a smile, first giving her teacher's wife a hug. Shenyang still looks as young and beautiful as ever. Then she waved at Mr. Dan. If you don't take better care of yourself, Mr. Dan, you won't be worthy of my young and beautiful Shenyang anymore. Mr. Dan laughed heartily and said, you little rascal, after not seeing you for years, the first thing you do is tease me. This isn't teasing, it's praise. That magnificent beard of yours makes you look like a seasoned photographer, worthy of standing alongside Max Rive. Mr. Dan chuckled and scolded, oh, get out of here, you've been spoiled by your brother since childhood. Never learning proper respect. Mentioning Sebastian, the master's wife asked, did you come alone? Didn't your brother come to see you off? Mr. Dan glanced behind her. Did you go to collect your luggage? Rosalind is empty-handed, someone must be carrying the bags. Rosalind linked arms with Mr. Dan on one side and her mentor's wife on the other, pulling them along. I've been an adult for a long time now, I don't need anyone to accompany me. I came here all by myself this time. Mr. Dan. Auntie, let's hurry, I'm starving to death. Mr. Dan and his wife didn't notice anything amiss, simply walking out with her, but another person who had come with them chased after them a few steps. Hey, Rosalind. Mr. Dan snapped out of his daze, smacking his forehead with a laugh. Look at my memory, I completely forgot the driver was waiting here. Rosalind had actually noticed this man the moment she stepped out of the airport. He appeared to be around 30, with broad shoulders. Tall and handsome, yet carrying an air of quiet refinement, dressed in a grey knit cardigan, he gave off a gentle vibe. Mr. Dan said, Rosalind, this is your Patrick. Do you remember him? Rosalind paused to think, then shook her head in confusion. Sorry, but is Patrick also Mr. Dan's student? Mr. Dan burst into laughter. You really don't remember at all? Rosalind still had no recollection. Patrick's face flushed slightly, looking somewhat awkward. Mr. Dan. Let's not bring up the past anymore. Spare me some dignity, Mr. Dan laughed even harder. Alright, I won't mention it again, or you can find the right moment to bring it up yourself. Patrick grew even more flustered and immediately dashed ahead. I'll go get the car first. Wait for me at the entrance, I'll be quick. Rosalind stared at this Patrick, still utterly baffled. It wasn't until her mentor's wife noticed her confused expression and cleared things up. Rosalind. Do you remember sending a love letter to a boy back in your college days? Rosalind. She remembered. That incident was actually a huge misunderstanding. The love letter wasn't from her, she was just delivering it for her roommate at the time. My roommate has a crush on a senior male student but is too shy to confess her feelings. Rosalind was shocked to hear this and immediately volunteered to play matchmaker, becoming the little magpie that bridges the cowherd and weaver girl. Finally, she seized an opportunity and waited for the target guy below the sketch building to hand him the love letter. Just as she began to explain the situation, some particularly rowdy boys snatched the letter from his hands and read it aloud in public. Originally, love letters were nothing more than those sentimental and melodramatic words, but she never expected that her usually timid as Aquale roommate would write such a bold love letter. The first line read, "Your fly is open," the second line said, Looks pretty big." At that moment, Rosalind was petrified on the spot. The boy who was confessed to was also stunned, looking at her with a mix of embarrassment and awkwardness, repeatedly apologizing before quickly running off to chase after those troublemaking friends who had taken the letter to read. In the end, because the content of the confession letter was overwhelmingly powerful, it truly made Rosalind the talk of the school, but this incident made Sebastian very unhappy. Although Rosalind had explained countless times that she didn't have feelings for him and that the love letter wasn't written by her, it was all just a complete misunderstanding, but Sebastian was furious, and the consequences were severe. In the end, no one knew how he managed it, but he directly arranged for the principal to send that senior abroad under the guise of a government-sponsored study program, essentially forcing him out of Rosalind's world. Because of this, Rosalind felt guilty for quite some time. The senior went abroad, completely severing the potential romantic connection with his roommate before it could even begin. The star-crossed lovers never got their happy ending, and she held a grudge against Sebastian for quite a long time because of it. After waiting at the terminal exit for a while, Patrick drove over. He slowly pulled up and rolled down the window. "Mr. Dan, Madam, and Rosalind, hop in." Mr. Dan and Madam were a loving couple, so they naturally took the back seat together. All that was left for Rosalind was the passenger seat. She stood outside for a while, unmoving. Patrick asked her, "Rosalind, why aren't you getting in the car?" Rosalind thought for a moment, then asked, "Senior, do you have a girlfriend?" This question once again struck the other three people present like a thunderbolt, leaving them utterly shocked. The mistress covered her mouth to stifle a laugh, then gave Mr. Dan a knowing glance and nodded, her expression seeming to say, "There's potential here." Mr. Dan immediately understood and flashed a meaningful smile in return. Even Patrick was momentarily stunned, unable to comprehend Rosalind's intention. Rosalind explained, "The front passenger seat holds special meaning for any girl. If Patrick, you have a girlfriend, I can squeeze into the back with Mr. Dan and Shenyang." Patrick immediately waved his hand, "I don't have a girlfriend, you take the seat." Rosalind finally got into the car. After the car started, Shenyang gently told Rosalind, "Rosalind, you really don't need to be so formal. You and Patrick aren't strangers." Rosalind said politely, "Even with familiar people, adults should maintain proper boundaries." This was Sebastian's vivid lesson to her. She would never forget it for the rest of her life. The teacher's wife smiled and said to Mr. Dan, "Look at our Rosalind, so polite and well-mannered, clearly a good child." Mr. Dan nodded in agreement. Yes, Rosalind's brother is truly good to her, raising her so outstandingly. Who would have thought? He's also a young man, a guy at that, yet so skilled at childcare. Madame Shah laughed and scolded. "What do you mean childcare? You make it sound like little Hua is of our generation. Actually, he's still very young." "Rosalind, I remember your brother is 5 years older than you, right?" Rosalind gave an in response. "So he's just past 30 then. Does your brother have a girlfriend now?" Mr. Dan quickly pulled his wife aside. "You there, addicted to matchmaking now? Xiao Hua is different from Rosalind. Can his marriage be treated as child's play?" The master's wife nodded repeatedly. "True, with his status and position, even if it's not a business alliance, he'd probably have to marry a girl from a scholarly family." "Right, exactly. And Xiao Hua has high standards. Let's not meddle." Rosalind however said, "Thank you, master's wife. He already has a girlfriend." Mr. Dan and his wife were both surprised. "When did this happen? Why haven't you mentioned it before?" Rosalind gave a bitter smile. What could she say? That her decision to go abroad this time was also thanks to this girlfriend. "No, now Selena is no longer my girlfriend. On the day she boarded the plane, she had already married Sebastian. Now she should properly be addressed as Mrs. Hua. I've grown up now, and we each have our own lives with little contact between us." The words carried a distinct sense of unfamiliarity. Her mentor's wife expressed concern. "Rosalind, did you decide to come abroad this time because your brother's girlfriend couldn't tolerate you either? What are you talking about?" Mr. Dan quickly interjected. "Rosalind came abroad to advance her career, of course." Rosalind took a deep breath and nodded firmly. Yes, Rosalind had just arrived and hadn't found another place to stay yet, so she was temporarily living at Mr. Dan's house. The landlady had prepared her room well in advance. Rosalind lay on the soft large bed, gazing at the moonlight outside the window. Everything felt so unfamiliar it was almost surreal. Yes, she had decided to completely bid farewell to Sebastian, and from now on, start a new life here. The new house was adorned with bright red double happiness characters everywhere, but Selena didn't dare say a word. Rosalind had disappeared. Midway through the wedding ceremony, Sebastian couldn't find Rosalind anywhere and immediately went out with others to search. Leaving her alone in the center of the stage full of guests, Selina felt wronged, having waited so long at home for his return. She had intended to properly whimper and cry to him. But Sebastian wore nothing but disgust on his face. "Stay away from me." Selina gnashed her teeth in hatred, wishing she could tear Rosalind limb from limb. She did it on purpose. She had to make a scene at her wedding, just to ruin her and Sebastian's big day. "Sebastian," she cautiously leaned in, nestling into his arms. "You've been busy all day, let's turn in early." As she spoke, she undid her coat buttons, revealing the pink lace beneath a silent invitation. Chapter 9. But this action instantly enraged Sebastian. "I told you to stay away from me, didn't you understand?" He violently yanked his arm out of Selina's embrace, frightening Selina until her face turned deathly pale. "Sebastian, I know you're worried, but Rosalind is an adult, she'll be fine." It was fine not mentioning Rosalind, but the moment Rosalind was brought up, Sebastian radiated an icy aura. Coincidentally, he received a phone call. Sebastian answered, and whatever was said on the other end, it only provoked his fury. "If you can't find her, keep looking. How can a living person just disappear? If Rosalind comes to any harm, you know the consequences." After hanging up, Sebastian's face still brewed with stormy anger. What a coincidence, another call came in. Sebastian didn't answer immediately this time. He stared at the number on his phone screen for quite a while. Selina noticed that his expression seemed flustered. Even the hand holding the phone began to tremble slightly. When he answered, his voice trembled slightly. "Officer Jim, please tell me, have you found anything?" Clang. The phone fell to the ground. Sebastian stood frozen, as if his soul had been drained from his body. Fortunately, the phone was sturdy. The impact accidentally turned on the speakerphone. The officer's voice came through the phone. "We did indeed find a female body in the eastern reservoir. Judging by the age and clothing, there's a high probability it's Ms. Rosalind." Selina was also stunned. "Rosalind is dead. She committed suicide." Did she love Sebastian that much? Sebastian committed suicide on the wedding day. But the next second, Selina thought of something else. Sebastian had such deep feelings for Rosalind. If Rosalind really died because of this, he would surely blame her, and Rosalind would become the eternal white moonlight in his heart. No one could defeat, no one could replace. The power of a deceased white moonlight was unshakable. But so what? She was dead. Sebastian now belonged to her alone, with no one left to compete for him. Selina curved her lips into a smug smile, but she knew she shouldn't be smiling now. She pinched her thigh hard, and the pain instantly brought tears to her eyes. She let out a sob, covering her mouth as tears streamed down her face, her voice trembling as she cried, "Rosalind, how could this happen? If there was anything you couldn't handle, you could have told your sister-in-law. I could have helped you." "Shut up," Sebastian roared. "Who told you that person was Rosalind?" Selina was so startled by the shout that she stopped crying. "But Officer Jim just said there's a high probability that." "A high probability doesn't mean it's certain. Rosalind is a strong girl. She wouldn't take her own life." As he spoke, Sebastian stood up to leave. Selina bit her lip, tears welling up as she grabbed his arm. "Where are you going? Tonight is our wedding night. Are you really going to leave me alone in an empty bridal chamber?" Sebastian turned around, his eyes narrowing dangerously. "Selina, you should know your place." Since when are you the sister-in-law?" His brows suddenly furrowed tightly as he questioned. "Rosalind's disappearance, does it have anything to do with you?" Selina flatly denied. "I'm the bride today. I've been in my wedding dress all day, surrounded by makeup artists and bridesmaids. I barely even spoke to Rosalind." Sebastian was in such a hurry to leave that he only threw out one sentence. "If I find out Rosalind's disappearance has anything to do with you, Selina, you know what's coming to you." Selina shuddered and released her grip on his sleeve. Sebastian rushed overnight to the eastern reservoir that Officer Jim had mentioned. There lay the remains, already covered with a white cloth. Officer Jim pointed to a sealed evidence bag. "This was retrieved from the water, likely her clothing. Could you verify if it belongs to Ms. Rosalind?" Sebastian didn't need to examine it closely. He recognized it at a glance. This pale blue dress was Rosalind's favorite. "That was the birthday gift I gave her when she turned 18. 7 years have passed. The dress's style has become outdated, and its color is no longer as soft and vibrant as it once was. Yet it remains Rosalind's favorite, Mr. Sebastian." Sebastian gave a soft hum in response. "It was hers." Officer Jim nodded and said comfortingly, "Mr. Sebastian, please, accept my condolences. Such a young girl, leaving this world so soon. What a tragedy." Sebastian remained silent for a long time. Officer Jim assumed he was overwhelmed with grief and didn't press further, merely offering comfort. "I heard Ms. Rosalind was an exceptional photographer. Artistic types tend to be more emotionally fragile and sensitive. She wasn't fragile." Officer Jim froze for a moment. "My apologies, I misspoke." Sebastian shook his head. She's not Rosalind. But didn't you just identify her by her clothes? All her clothes had already been donated away. Sebastian said as he abruptly pulled back the white cloth covering the remains. Everyone around was startled, especially Officer Jim. Mr. Sebastian, what are you doing? Sebastian looked at the girl's face and instantly seemed to lose all strength. Mr. Sebastian, what's wrong with you? Sebastian closed his eyes and sighed in relief. It's not her. As long as it's not her. Mr. Sebastian, your phone is ringing. Will you answer it? Sebastian glanced at his phone. It was Selena. He hung up directly. Selena called again, and he hung up once more. When the phone rang for the third time, Sebastian couldn't take it anymore. What do you want? The person on the other end was startled by his outburst, their voice trembling slightly. Sorry to disturb you, Mr. Sebastian. There's a package for you. Would you be available to sign for it now? Express delivery. Sebastian frowned. My package? That's right. I've delivered it to the main gate of your villa. Are you available to receive it now? I'm busy right now. Alright, sorry to bother you. I'll contact you again tomorrow. Wait, Sebastian suddenly thought of something. Who sent it to me? It was Rosalind. Sebastian suddenly stood up and commanded sharply. I'm heading back immediately. Wait for me there. Sebastian drove home at the fastest speed he'd ever mustered in his life. I happened to run into the courier right at the entrance of the residential complex. But there was nothing beside him. Where's my package? Sebastian grabbed him. Didn't you say there was a package for me from Rosalind? The courier was startled. Mr. Sebastian, your wife already signed for it. I just delivered it to her inside. Where would I get a wife? You don't have one. But that lady just said she was Mrs. Sebastian charged straight into the villa. Selena, where are you? At this very moment, Selena in the bathroom was startled with a shiver. She threw what was in her hand into the toilet and frantically pressed the flush button. But the next second, the bathroom door was kicked open by Sebastian. He snatched the box from Selena's hands and anxiously flipped through it. All of them were photos, from his youth, gradually growing into a mature man. He wore school uniforms, basketball jerseys, suits, and casual home clothes. Front view, side profile, back view, all were there. All were photos of him. It was Rosalind who took the photo of him. Some he was aware of, others he had no idea about. All were captured by Rosalind in unguarded moments, from initial awkwardness to eventually mastering light, shadow, and composition with consummate skill. Rosalind's photography techniques were essentially honed by practicing on him. Though the early photos still lacked technical polish, those taken with love made his entire being seem bathed in a golden halo. Her love, captured through the lens, was so full it nearly overflowed. Later, through her camera, she transformed into a tall, mature man. Sometimes he was focused on work, other times eating gently. Every single photo was of him. Sebastian frantically flipped through them, crying as he looked, laughing through his tears. Rosalind liked him. She was using these photos to tell him that she had liked him, had always liked him since childhood. When he flipped to the last photo, Sebastian froze. It was his wedding photo. Rosalind took this photo with her own hands. He was dressed in a white suit, another woman's hand resting in the crook of his arm. His heart suddenly gave a violent stab, the pain unbearable in an instant. Clutching his chest with one hand, the photograph slipped from his fingertips. Ignoring the pain, he frantically tried to grab it, only to suddenly notice writing on the back of the photo. That was Rosalind's handwriting. He picked it up and carefully examined it. Sebastian. Perhaps from today onward, I should properly call you brother. Brother, I wish you happiness. Sebastian felt as if a gaping hole had been torn in his heart, letting icy winds howl through. He frantically flipped through the back of every photograph. Sebastian, you look so handsome playing basketball. Sebastian, I'm 18 now, an adult. I want to choose who I love. I love you. Do you know that? Sebastian, I secretly took your photo again. You look really scary when you're angry. But you never get mad at me. Does that mean I'm somewhat special to you? Sebastian, we'll be together in the future. Right, I'm growing less certain lately. Could you give me a definite answer, please? Sebastian, I really didn't write that love letter. But seeing you get so furious for my sake, doesn't that mean you still care about me? Sebastian, do you actually like me? Or do you just see me as a little sister? Sebastian, this is only half of it. Clearly the other half was torn away. On the back of the photo, only the words Sebastian remain. The rest of the writing has completely vanished. Sebastian grabbed Selena's wrist like a madman. Where's the other half? Sebastian, don't be like this. You're scaring me. I'm asking you. Where's the other half? Speak. Selena, overcome by malice, pointed at the toilet and said, I tore it to pieces and flushed it away. Sebastian violently shoved her away. Selena falling heavily to the ground. Sebastian, Selena trembled as she explained, Rosalind actually harbored such improper feelings for you. She even sent these photos back to you. If these photos were to fall into the wrong hands and reach the media, it would severely damage your reputation. I was only trying to protect you by destroying them. Get out of my sight. I won't go. I'm your wife, Sebastian. Rosalind is gone. Let me be the one to stay with you from now on. Ah. Selena stood up from the ground, trying to embrace him, but this time, Sebastian showed no mercy. He flung her heavily to the ground once more, then looked down at her and warned, I don't want to hit a woman. Get out of here yourself, Sebastian. Get out. Selena knew that Sebastian was now on the verge of fury. Then I'll go to the kitchen and cook for you. You must be hungry, right? I'll go now, Sebastian warned her word by word. Get out of Rosalind's and my house. The security guard came and threw out Selena along with all her belongings. Sebastian finally felt that the house was much quieter now. He held the photo in the box, gently tracing the handwriting on it with his fingers. Rosalind had come to the Hu family since childhood, and even her handwriting was practiced stroke by stroke with him holding her little hand. Rosalind, where on earth are you now? Sebastian held the box of photographs as if cradling a priceless treasure. Rosalind, where on earth are you? Rosalind woke with a start from her dream. Her master's wife asked her, why do you look so pale? Did you have a nightmare? Rosalind snapped out of her daze as if waking from a dream. Today, it was Mr. Dan and her master's wife who had taken her out for a meal, with the additional purpose of introducing her to the editor-in-chief of a foreign magazine. But the editor-in-chief was running late due to an unexpected matter. Having felt restless in her sleep for several days, she had dozed off on the sofa. Rosalind, here, before her, a large, clean white hand offered her a tissue. Rosalind hesitated before accepting it. Thank you, Patrick. She wiped the thin sheen of sweat from her forehead, still lingering in the remnants of her recent dream. Patrick smiled and said, it's okay if you had a nightmare. Once you wake up, all the scary things disappear. Here, there's Mr. Dan, Shenyang, and everyone is here with you. Shenyang teased him deliberately. And what else? And, Patrick laughed awkwardly, pointing at the sunlight outside, and such beautiful weather. A little sunshine will lift your spirits. The master's wife burst into laughter without spelling it out. All right, there's still the sun keeping you company, Rosalind. Patrick's face turned slightly red, noticing Rosalind still looked rather pale. The master's wife grew concerned. Rosalind, you don't need to be so nervous. This editor-in-chief is quite pleasant, witty and humorous. He's old friends with your Mr. Dan too. He's seen your photography work before and was very impressed. Rosalind nodded. I know, I just dreamed of. What did you dream about? I dreamed about the past. What's so scary about the past? Your brother has always cherished you like a treasure since childhood. Shouldn't that be a sweet, beautiful dream? Rosalind didn't know how to explain it. It was Patrick who came to her rescue. No one lives in a honeypot forever. Even Rosalind has her troubles. Really, Rosalind, is your brother too strict with you? I think I heard Mr. Dan mention it before, but parents are always worried about their children. Your brother is just overly concerned about you, Patrick said. Madam, Rosalind is her own person. Let's not keep bringing up her brother. The madam looked puzzled, but seeing Rosalind had already tacitly agreed, she nodded. All right, we won't mention him then. Rosalind gave Patrick a grateful look. Thank you, Patrick. It wasn't that she couldn't let go of Sebastian. From the moment she boarded the plane, she had made up her mind to move on. It's just that her life experiences were so clearly intertwined with Sebastian, almost inseparably bound together. No matter who it was, classmates, friends, teachers, whenever they talked to her, the conversation would inevitably touch upon Sebastian to some degree. It must be said, Patrick understood her well. Only after leaving Sebastian did she feel like an independent individual, no longer tying her joys and sorrows to another person, completely free from attachments, utterly unburdened. The editor-in-chief arrived fashionably late. He was indeed a very humorous middle-aged man. At first glance upon seeing Rosalind, he said, we must have met somewhere before. Rosalind had already composed herself, fully immersing in this interview. She smiled faintly. Mr. Editor-in-Chief, this method of cozying up to girls is a bit old-fashioned, don't you think? The editor-in-chief laughed heartily. Rosalind, you're truly amusing. I'm not just amusing, my photography skills are remarkable too, confident, poised, humorous, and intelligent. Without Sebastian, she could still shine brightly on her own. As she was leaving, the editor-in-chief urged her to start work. Our magazine has an important interview coming up, and the subject is quite prominent. We're in need of a skilled photographer. If you're available, Rosalind, you can report to the magazine office anytime. Rosalind agreed. By the way, what I just said wasn't some pickup line. I really think we've met somewhere before. Rosalind replied. I've only just arrived in Milan. Maybe there was another girl who looked like me. The editor didn't press further. Perhaps so. After they parted, The editor sat in his car, racking his brains to remember where he'd last encountered Rosalind. His driver asked, "Boss, have you fallen for this girl?" The editor-in-chief immediately retorted, "She's so much younger than me. I only see her as a little sister." Suddenly, a thought flashed through the editor-in-chief's mind. "I remember where I met her now." Sebastian was talking with Officer Jim when the call came through. After searching for so many days without finding a trace of a living person, Officer Jim told him to prepare for the worst. But Sebastian couldn't possibly accept that reality. Officer Jim's statement was straightforward. "Miss Rosalind disappeared from your wedding. She didn't take any luggage, didn't bring her purse, took nothing with her, and after all this time, the police haven't received any calls for help from her, Mr. Sebastian, you need to prepare yourself mentally." Sebastian's phone rang. He answered. "What is it, Eric? I'm busy. I just saw your sister." Chapter 12. Sebastian had no idea how he'd survived those 8 hours on the flight. When Eric delivered the news, his first reaction was confusion. She went abroad. To Milan, of all places. But he immediately had someone check the airport records, and there was no boarding record for Rosalind. Yet more than anything, he felt relief. At least Rosalind was still here, still alive. That was enough. But then an overwhelming fury engulfed him. Why had she left without a word? Even if she wanted to pursue opportunities abroad, why had she never mentioned it to him? Rosalind found a new place and moved out of Mr. Dan's house. After all, it was just a temporary stay. Although Mr. Dan and his wife were very fond of her, Rosalind didn't want to impose on them for too long. Patrick offered to help when he found out. Rosalind had come empty-handed with no luggage. After moving into her new home, she decided to go shopping to buy some things to furnish the place. While browsing a fabric store, as luck would have it, her period came early. Rosalind could feel the warmth spreading, but the store was crowded. She couldn't make it too obvious, or it would only become more awkward. "Here, take this." A man's jacket was handed to her. Patrick said with a smile, "I'm feeling a bit warm. Could you hold my coat for me?" Rosalind suddenly realized Patrick must have seen it, but instead of calling her out, he thoughtfully came up with a way to help her cover it up. Rosalind blushed and nodded. "Thank you, Patrick." Patrick smiled. "See anything you like?" Rosalind shook her head. "Shall we try the next shop then?" "Okay." After smoothly exiting the fabric store, Patrick told her, "Wait here for me a moment." Then he quickly ran toward the convenience store in the distance. Soon, he came running back. At the same time, he slipped a small bag from his palm into Rosalind's hand. His face was slightly flushed. "I don't know which brand you usually use, and I don't really understand this stuff, so I just bought the one the clerk recommended." Rosalind squeezed the small bag in her hand, feeling a warm current flow through her heart. "Thank you, this will do just fine." "That's good then. The restroom isn't far on the left, go ahead quickly. I'll wait here for you." The men's jacket draped over Rosalind was oversized, just enough to cover the red-stained area on her pants. He carried a scent different from Sebastian. Sebastian's clothes always bore the refined fragrance of cologne. But his coat carried only the clean scent of mint and a faint trace of sunlight. Rosalind found Patrick still waiting for her in the same spot when she emerged from the restroom. Beside him stood a toddler, no more than 2 or 3 years old. He crouched halfway on the ground, playing with the little child, who was so happy that they danced around, clearly very fond of him. Patrick saw her approaching and explained with a smile. "The baby's mom also went to the restroom and asked me to look after him for a while." Rosalind was somewhat surprised. "Do you know his mom?" "I don't know him." "Then why is his mother so trusting of you?" Speaking of this, Patrick also seemed troubled. "I don't know either. Every time I go out, there are always so many people asking me for directions or help." Rosalind could actually understand. Patrick was a very gentle person, and very attentive, and also very kind. He and Sebastian are completely 2 different types. "Rosalind, I want to tell you something." Go ahead, I like you." Rosalind suddenly looked up. Patrick was also a bit embarrassed, but still mustered the courage to say, "Actually, I liked you back when we were in school. But then there was that love letter misunderstanding, and then I was unexpectedly sent abroad, so I never got the chance to tell you. This time when Mr. Dan told me you finally agreed to come work overseas, I was really happy." Rosalind wasn't really surprised. Since arriving in Milan, Patrick, though claiming the title of senior brother, had long exceeded what a casual acquaintance of that title should do. She wasn't a child, she probably had some inkling of it. To be fair, she didn't dislike Patrick. In fact, she thought he was genuinely a good person, but she hadn't expected Patrick to say it so soon. Rosalind asked him, "After all, our time together has been too short." "Don't you think this is too fast?" Patrick said. "Life is too short. Because of my lack of courage before, we missed 7 years. This time, I don't want to keep hiding in the shadows with a secret crush. I want to tell you how I truly feel." I'm actually prepared to be rejected. But I don't want to stay silent anymore, that would only lead to more missed opportunities. These words made Rosalind's heart waver slightly. Yes, she liked Sebastian, had liked him for so many years. Always waiting for his confession. But actually, it's not that difficult, is it? She could very well take the initiative to confess her feelings to Sebastian. Even if rejected, the worst their relationship could be is exactly as it is now. Rosalind, you don't have to answer me right away. Take your time to think it through, Rosalind. Before the words had even finished leaving her lips, she was pulled into a powerful embrace the very next second. When the familiar scent of cologne filled her nostrils, Rosalind immediately recognized him. No one knew the feel of his arms better than she did. Yet after just these few days apart, Rosalind felt an unfamiliar distance between them. It's really you. I'm so glad you're okay. Come on, let's go home. Patrick asked. Rosalind, who is this? Rosalind pushed Sebastian away, maintaining a measured distance before calmly introducing. Let me introduce you. This is my brother. Sebastian frowned slightly and countered. Brother, isn't it, Rosalind? Sebastian said. I've seen all those photos you left for me. Rosalind's expression didn't change at all. She just softly said, oh, but a few were destroyed by Selena. Normal, Rosalind said. She's your wife. She can dispose of your things as she pleases. She's not. Sebastian grasped her shoulders and explained urgently. Rosalind, I didn't marry her. I called off the wedding when I realized you were gone. I've been searching everywhere for you these past few days, and then there was a girl who committed suicide wearing the clothes you donated. I almost thought you had. Rosalind frowned. Brother, please let go. You're hurting me. Don't call me brother again. Rosalind looked up at him and smiled. All right then, Mr. Sebastian. Is this acceptable? Sebastian fumed with anger. Rosalind took a deep breath, pried his large hand off her shoulder bit by bit, then stepped back and stood firmly beside Patrick. I hadn't finished introducing yet, Rosalind said. Brother, this is my boyfriend, Patrick. Patrick looked somewhat surprised, but the truly astonished one was Sebastian. How long have you known him to call him boyfriend? Rosalind, don't treat yourself as a joke. Brother, the longer you know someone doesn't necessarily make the relationship stronger. Her words carried hidden meaning. Sebastian understood perfectly well. He took a deep breath to calm himself. Rosalind, let's have a proper talk. Okay, brother, we have nothing left to say to each other. Your new wife is waiting for you. I'm doing well in Milan. I have work. I have company. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. I'll repay you. I'll repay the Hua family. What I want was never your repayment. What do you want then? Sebastian choked up. He wanted her, but facing Rosalind's indifferent gaze, he couldn't bring himself to say it. Brother, go back. You've already failed one woman. Don't fail another. Selena was never my woman. Rosalind, just give me 10 minutes, okay? I want to explain everything to you. My boyfriend and I have things to do. Maybe next time. Rosalind gently tugged at Patrick, and he followed her as she left. After walking quite a distance, Patrick told her, your brother hasn't left yet. He's still standing there. Don't look at him anymore. Come with me to see the other furniture. Are we really not going to mind him? But he looks so forlorn. Rosalind smiled. He just got married. With a lovely wife in his arms, how could he be forlorn? For the entire afternoon, Patrick accompanied her as they explored every corner of the mall. Rosalind bought many things, anime figurines she liked, wall hangings, and an enormous plush teddy bear, a full size larger than Patrick himself. When he carried the giant bear through the mall, everyone turned to stare at him. Patrick felt somewhat embarrassed and asked Rosalind, do I look ridiculous? Rosalind remained silent, but two passing girls answered him with laughter. No, we think you must really love your girlfriend. Patrick blushed instantly. He explained awkwardly, I'm just hot, really. This bear costume is too warm. Rosalind couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps having such a simple and gentle boyfriend wasn't so bad after all. At least, she didn't have to constantly wonder whether he loved her or not. He proved it through his actions. I like you. Patrick walked her home as the sky darkened. Being a single woman's home, Patrick politely didn't enter, simply placing all her belongings outside the front door. Rosalind called out to him, what are you doing standing outside? Come in. Patrick still felt uneasy about it. Rosalind, what you said today. Was it true? What did I say? You said, I was your boyfriend. Rosalind pondered for a moment, then nodded firmly. I accept your confession and admire your courage, but at this stage, I'm only at the let's try dating phase with you. It hasn't risen to the level of liking yet. If you don't mind, we can take our time and see how things go. Patrick exclaimed in delight. Really? Rosalind nodded with a smile. You thought what? I thought you were just saying that to spite your brother because you were having a fight with him. Rosalind sighed. In the past, maybe I would have, and now, Rosalind spoke with solemnity. Now, I truly want to start a new life. Rosalind, you had feelings for your brother, didn't you? Patrick added. In the past. Rosalind didn't hide it from him and nodded in admission. Yes. She had thought Patrick would press her about her current intentions or be shocked by her taboo feelings toward her own brother. But when Patrick huffed and puffed while helping her move that giant stuffed bear into the house, Rosalind couldn't help but burst into laughter at the sight of him sweating and panting heavily. What's wrong? Rosalind said. I thought you'd ask me if I still like him now. Didn't you say that was in the past? Patrick wiped the sweat off his face haphazardly and smiled, saying, I believe you. Time flowed by like water. Since that day he saw Sebastian, he never appeared again. Actually, these days, Rosalind didn't think of him very often. Patrick was very good to her, but not in the eager, status-seeking kind of way. He was the type who nurtured quietly, gently taking care of Rosalind's daily life. Rosalind felt that such peaceful, ordinary days gave her a deep sense of stability. That morning, Rosalind received a call from the editor-in-chief of Milan magazine in the early hours. Ms. Rosalind, I have a friend named Jeff who's a host. He's interviewing a celebrity today, the big shot I mentioned to you last time. Are you available to handle the photography? Sure, I can go. What's the exact time and location? Best if you can head over now to discuss on site. I'll send you the address and Jeff's contact details right away. The editor-in-chief was naturally delighted to see her willing to help save the situation. Rosalind knew time was tight and didn't dare delay. She hailed a taxi on the roadside and rushed to the studio location at top speed. By now, the venue and other crew members were all ready, only the photographer's arrival was needed to start work. She glanced around the environment, and before spotting the Jeff mentioned by Mr. Dan, she noticed someone else first. The place was crowded and noisy. But Sebastian still stood out as the most eye-catching presence there. I never expected the celebrity being interviewed to be him. Hasn't he returned to the country yet? Has he been staying in Milan all these days? Rosalind thought calmly, strangely devoid of any extraneous thoughts. Until Sebastian unexpectedly looked over first, the two stood at a not-so-close distance, locking eyes, neither taking the first step forward nor showing any intention to greet the other. Jeff noticed the shift in his gaze and followed it curiously, then walked over to Rosalind with delight, saying, You must be Miss Rosalind, right? I didn't expect you to arrive so soon. This is wonderful. The editor-in-chief sent me. Rosalind casually averted her gaze from Sebastian and watched Jeff exchange pleasantries with him. Although it was their first meeting, Jeff had an exceptionally good impression of her. I've heard about you from Mr. Dan. I only knew you were young and highly skilled professionally, but I didn't expect you to be so beautiful as well. As he spoke, he guided Rosalind toward Sebastian and introduced her. Mr. Sebastian, this is Ms. Rosalind, a renowned young photographer, with her assistants. Today's shoot will surely go very smoothly, Sebastian responded with a lukewarm acknowledgement. Ms. Rosalind, let me introduce you to this. Could you clarify the type and theme of this interview? We can discuss the requirements first before starting, which would save time and effort for both parties. Let Mr. Sebastian decide. I have no objections. Jeff instantly forgot what he was about to say, playing mediator between the two. Mr. Sebastian is a big name we went through great lengths to invite. As long as he's happy, we're open to any style. Sebastian rarely makes public appearances, and they were genuinely afraid of losing this golden opportunity for exposure. Rosalind never once revealed that she had known Sebastian all along. Seeing that Jeff had her negotiate directly with Sebastian, she simply said flatly, Mr. Sebastian, please go ahead. The light, casual address was polite yet distant. Sebastian answered irrelevantly, the environment here seems a bit chaotic. Since it's almost noon, why don't the three of us find a restaurant to sit down and chat over a meal? He had invited both Rosalind and Jeff, but his gaze lingered only on the former. Burning as if she might disappear again at any moment, Rosalind showed no interest in this. I have plans for lunch and probably can't stay too long. How about this, you all discuss it, then just send me a document with the finalized filming requirements. As she spoke, her phone conveniently rang. Someone was indeed calling her right on cue. Rosalind made no effort to hide it, answering the call right in front of them. The caller was Patrick, his voice as gentle as ever, asking on the other end. Are you done there? I'm about to head back and can pick you up. Then we'll go to Mr. Dan's place together. No matter where she intended to go, he would always conveniently be going her way. Rosalind arched her smiling eyes slightly. It's already over. I was just about to leave. Patrick then told her. What a coincidence. I just happened to drive to the studio entrance too. What a coincidence. Patrick let out a light chuckle and remained silent. In truth, both of them knew he had deliberately come early to wait here. Rosalind didn't expose this. She hung up the phone, then bid farewell to Jeff, saying, as you heard, I genuinely have another commitment at noon and must leave now." Sebastian became the only one left unnoticed, standing beside Jeff. He watched as she jogged out of the studio. Rosalind stepped briskly into Patrick's car. Jeff watched the departing car with undisguised envy and said to Sebastian, "They're both students of my good friends. I heard they're in a relationship, deeply in love with each other, and their bond is very stable. I reckon it won't be long before they take the next step and upgrade to husband and wife." Every word he uttered became a sharp blade piercing Sebastian's heart. Sebastian's face had visibly darkened at some point, growing increasingly stormy. Without waiting for Jeff to finish introducing the golden couple, he interrupted. "I have urgent matters at noon too. Let's reschedule this meal for another day." "Alright, then take care, Mr. Sebastian." Jeff only added one reminder: "Once you're done, don't forget to send me the photo requirements. I'll forward them to Ms. Rosalind later." Jeff thought this was their first meeting today. Sebastian either didn't hear or deliberately chose not to respond, walking away with quick strides without turning his head. Jeff had previously enjoyed a pleasant conversation with him. But now seeing him suddenly transform into a different person, he was filled with nothing but bewilderment and confusion. No one at the scene had offended him, had they? Meanwhile, Patrick, who was driving, had a similar question, except the person he directed it to was Rosalind. "What's wrong? You don't look well." Rosalind didn't answer directly, relaxing slightly as she said, "Probably because the weather has been changing a lot lately. It's a bit cold." Patrick didn't think twice. "How about we have something hot for lunch today?" Coincidentally, Mr. Dan mentioned craving hot pot too. "Let's bring the ingredients and have a steaming hot pot at his place. After eating, you might not feel cold anymore." It was a seasonally appropriate suggestion. Rosalind didn't want to dampen his spirits, so she accompanied him to the supermarket to buy ingredients. By the time they arrived at Mr. Dan's place with their purchases, it was just in time for lunch. Mr. Dan was naturally delighted to see his two students bringing their own ingredients for a meal. "You've come at just the right time." He took the items to the kitchen, smiling at Rosalind as he added, "Coincidentally, your brother is here too. It's rare for everyone to have a meal together, so stay a while longer." Patrick instinctively glanced at the person beside him. "Sounds good." Rosalind's expression remained unchanged as she smiled back at Mr. Dan before heading to the kitchen to help prepare the ingredients. Only when everything was ready did she make her way to the dining room. At this moment, Patrick and Sebastian had already been sitting in silence, treating each other as thin air for quite some time. The hot pot on the table was steaming, but the people gathered around it were eerily quiet, with no one initiating conversation. Patrick's clinking of serving chopsticks adding ingredients to the pot was louder than the bubbling of the broth. Rosalind sat between Patrick and Mr. Dan, intending to avoid Sebastian, but when she looked up, she realized they had ended up sitting directly across from each other. Sebastian gazed at her intently for a moment before suddenly adopting a polite expression and initiating conversation with Mr. Dan. "Mr. Dan, I wonder how Rosalind has been doing during her stay abroad. Has everything gone smoothly with her work and daily life?" He could have asked Rosalind directly, but he deliberately chose to beat around the bush in front of her. Mr. Dan didn't overthink it. Picking up a slice of fish with his chopsticks, he answered truthfully between bites. "Rosalind is doing perfectly well. Everyone who's interacted with her has nothing but praise. Nowadays, all my friends say I'm incredibly lucky to have mentored such an outstanding student." "Has she caused you any trouble, Mr. Dan?" quickly shook his head. "Of course not. Thanks to Rosalind and Xiaoshan visiting me from time to time. Otherwise I wouldn't know how boring my days would be." As he spoke, his gaze swept over Rosalind and Patrick, who were sitting close together, and his smile grew even brighter. "Mr. Sebastian, this is Patrick, also my student. Rosalind must have already introduced him to you, so I won't say much more, but of all the students I've taught, these two are the most outstanding. What I mean is, perhaps, his intention to play matchmaker for the two right in front of Sebastian, the parent, couldn't have been more obvious. But Sebastian didn't even let him finish, politely yet firmly interrupting. "Mr. Dan, I understand what you mean, but they're not a good match." Mr. Dan's expression stiffened slightly. Sebastian glanced at Patrick and said indifferently, "As it happens, I also have matters to discuss with Rosalind during this visit. I've already chosen her future husband for her." "Oh, but I've never heard Rosalind mention this before." Mr. Dan couldn't help asking out of concern, "Who is he? Do I know him?" "Well, you could say we're acquainted." "What's the general situation with the other party?" Sebastian paused thoughtfully before saying, "He runs his own company, enjoys considerable financial means that would allow Rosalind to pursue anything she desires, he's quite well regarded socially too, and most importantly, he's utterly devoted to Rosalind. Rosalind immediately recognized the fiancé he was referring to and cut him off sharply. That's enough. The sound caught everyone's attention. Mr. Dan watched as the usually gentle Rosalind suddenly lost her temper, finally sensing something amiss. His gaze shifted between her and Sebastian. Suspecting a conflict between the siblings, Rosalind, realizing her outburst, took a shallow breath to steady herself and said, "I'm sorry, but I have no desire for money. I'm very happy with my current job, and my salary is enough for me to do what I want. There's no need for my brother to worry about me." Sebastian said gloomily, "If I don't worry about you, who else will? I'm an adult now, capable of making my own life decisions. I don't need anyone to take responsibility for me, much less so-called supervision. Even if you're an adult, you still grew up under my care, with your parents gone. Of course I have to look out for you. I can't let just anyone deceive you." Sebastian was genuinely angered now, his gaze toward Patrick turning downright icy. Rosalind couldn't hold back any longer and blurted out, "I didn't start seeing Patrick just to spite you. I genuinely think he's a good person. I've been truly happy and comfortable with him these past days." "I said no means no." Sebastian interrupted her furiously, slamming his chopsticks onto the table with a loud bang. "Rosalind, come home with me." This time Rosalind refused to tolerate it for Mr. Dan's sake either. She stood up abruptly and said, "This isn't the Hua family. It's not a place where you can throw your weight around and expect everyone to comply." "Rosalind, I'm worried you'll be deceived. You keep saying you have to control me. Fine, then tell me, what identity are you using to control me now? A vaguely familiar stranger or so-called brother?" She emphasized the last two words with deliberate stress. Sebastian was caught in a dilemma. If he acknowledged his status as her elder brother, there would never be any possibility between them again, forever confined to being nominal siblings. Yet if he refused to acknowledge it, he would be voluntarily relinquishing any right to interfere with her marriage. The atmosphere instantly became charged with tension. Mr. Dan vaguely discerned they were arguing about Rosalind's relationship issues. He gave Patrick an apologetic glance and mediated. "All right, Mr. Sebastian, even if you've found a suitable candidate, there's no need to rush. Let's hear Rosalind's thoughts first before discussing further." "No." Sebastian was adamant. "This matter is non-negotiable." Rosalind, not wanting to put Mr. Dan in a difficult position, simply picked up her coat and apologized. "I'm sorry for ruining such a nice hot pot dinner. Please continue eating. I'll head back first." Without hesitation, she left, specifically telling Patrick not to escort her and to stay with Mr. Dan instead. Sebastian was once again ignored by her, his blood boiling with frustration. Disregarding Mr. Dan's, he quickened his pace and chased after her. "Rosalind, stop right there." Rosalind turned a deaf ear and walked even faster down the street. Sebastian saw she was about to leave the neighborhood and desperately rushed over to grab her arm, lowering his pride to plead, "Rosalind, listen to me." "Sebastian, how many times do I have to tell you? I know what you're going to say, but I don't want to hear it." The argument between the two ended with Sebastian forcibly pulling her into his car parked by the roadside. He pushed her into the passenger seat and locked the doors from the inside. Now, Rosalind had no choice but to stay with him in the cramped space. No matter how much she wanted to ignore him, "You've already ruined everything. What more do you want?" Her eyes reddened with anger, her voice trembling. "We're abroad. Your usual tricks won't work here. If you don't let me out, I'll report you for unlawful confinement." Sebastian's voice wasn't as firm as his actions. He took a deep breath and spoke in a hoarse tone Rosalind had never heard before. "I'm sorry. I did all this just to tell you one thing. After you left, I finally realized something. The person I've always loved is actually you. So no matter who you like, I won't agree. The one who gets to spend the rest of their life with you can only be me." For the first time, he showed a hint of vulnerability before her. Though even his confession sounded more like a demand, Rosalind found it utterly absurd. She let out a light laugh. "Brother, have you mistaken me for someone else? These words shouldn't be said to me, they should be told to Selena." Sebastian felt a headache coming on, pinching the bridge of his nose. He said, "Can you please stop bringing her up?" "No," Rosalind said deliberately, as if to remind him, "Brother, I've already accepted Selena as my sister-in-law and am willing to wish you a harmonious marriage with many children. What exactly are you still dissatisfied with? Enough, or is it that you've quarreled with sister-in-law?" Every time she spoke, she would address Sebastian as brother, making his head ache and his chest feel tight with frustration. He wanted to tell her to stop calling him that, but couldn't find a proper reason, so he could only choke with anger. "You," just as he began to retort. Rosalind in the passenger seat seized the opportunity and suddenly started pounding on the window, shouting, "Help, outside." Patrolling police officers happened to pass by, noticing the commotion. They immediately stopped and approached. Sebastian then realized Rosalind had meant every word. She wasn't just threatening him earlier, but it was already too late. The police officer knocked sternly on the driver's side window with a serious expression. "Sir, please step out of the vehicle." Sebastian reluctantly unlocked the car door and faced the officers questioning alongside Rosalind, attempting to explain. "Officer, this is a misunderstanding. We know each other." He no longer wanted to be siblings with her, but this attitude only deepened the officer's suspicions. The officer scrutinized him carefully before verifying with Rosalind. "Is this true?" Rosalind said coldly. "Just a brother without any blood relation." Sebastian gave her an incredulous look, his lips trembling as if to say something. But the police didn't give him the chance. Rosalind stood impassively until she confirmed that Sebastian had been taken away by the police for questioning and could no longer pester her. Only then did she call Patrick. "Can you come pick me up now? Where are you?" "I'll be right there." Patrick didn't ask why, simply rushing over as quickly as possible. Rosalind stood alone by the street, looking frail and vulnerable, as if a gust of wind could blow her away. Seeing him approach, she asked softly, "Is Mr. Dan all right?" "He's fine." Just a bit confused, Patrick reassured her. "Don't worry, I've already explained everything to him." Rosalind nodded. "Okay." Patrick hesitated but didn't ask why she seemed even sadder. Only after accompanying her home and handing her a cup of warm tea did he ask with concern, "Has your brother come to regret it?" He was gentle by nature, not obtuse or foolish. Ordinary siblings wouldn't have argued so intensely over a sister's romantic affairs. Rosalind nodded. "But I have no regrets." She lifted her gaze to meet Patrick's eyes, her resolute expression showing not a trace of reluctance as she added, "From now on, there are only two options between him and me. Either we remain siblings, or we become strangers. The choice is his to make. What's past is past." What she wanted was a fresh start. Sebastian had been interrogated at the police station for most of the day. It wasn't until his assistant provided documentation to vouch for him that he regained his freedom and breathed the fresh air outside. The assistant, sensing his foul mood, quietly made herself scarce after handling everything. Just then, Selina showed up at this inopportune moment. The moment she saw him, she rushed over with tear-filled eyes. "Sebastian, you have to help me. I'm truly at my wit's end with those people. I've been hiding abroad, but somehow they still found me." Her words were pitifully pleading, as if she wouldn't survive without Sebastian's intervention. Sebastian had finally seen through her true nature. Weary, he asked, "How much do you want?" Selina was overjoyed and about to name a substantial figure when she noticed Sebastian picking up his phone. Then his expression changed, and the way he looked at her was as if she were already dead. "Sebastian, what's wrong with you?" She instinctively shivered, then cautiously moved closer to him. Sebastian let out a cold laugh. "Was this the same expression you had when you messaged Rosalind earlier?" At these words, Selina froze on the spot, forcing out a dry smile. "What message are you talking about? Rosalind is missing, isn't she? How could I possibly contact her? It's impossible." Rosalind should have given up on Sebastian by now. Sebastian disdained further words, simply raising his hand to display the phone screen before her. Just moments ago, the private investigator he had hired domestically had made new progress and directly forwarded the recovered data from the phone. Selina stared at the provocative messages she had previously sent to Rosalind. After a brief moment of panic, she clenched her teeth and said, "Sebastian, these weren't sent by me. Someone must be deliberately framing me. Yes, it must be Rosalind. She's never liked me." "Enough," Sebastian snapped sharply. The surroundings were deathly silent, to the point where even the sound of breathing was barely audible. Sebastian held the phone with a trembling hand, looking down as he demanded one final question from Selina. "Was it you who forced Rosalind to leave the country?" Previously overlooked clues suddenly connected at this moment, the truth on the verge of revelation. Selina watched as Sebastian underwent a complete 180-degree change in attitude before her eyes. Pretending not to be afraid would be a lie, but she still couldn't bear to let go of this cash cow, softening her voice in an attempt to coquettishly appease him. "Sebastian, I've always liked her so much, how could I possibly bully her?" The voice grew fainter until it was inaudible, as Selina dared not continue after meeting Sebastian's frosty expression. This time, things might not be so easily resolved. Sebastian's mind buzzed with noise, filled with extreme anger and regret, yet powerless to turn back time, so he could only resent himself. He refused to cast another glance at Selina, coldly tossing out a single sentence. "I told you, Rosalind is my bottom line. You could play along with my act, but only to force out her true feelings, to make her realize my importance. But you absolutely must not harm her in the slightest. Now you can leave." Selina trembled all over. She tried to grab Sebastian's sleeve, but he dodged her, leaving her hand hanging in midair as she tearfully protested. I really didn't. Sebastian was utterly disgusted with her, turning away with icy indifference and refusing to look back, just at that moment. The housekeeper back home called. He turned his back to Selina and answered. What is it? The housekeeper was calling to report the investigation progress. Mr. Sebastian, the professional you arranged to restore the surveillance footage has completed the task and sent over the recording. You guessed right, someone did provoke Miss Rosalind. Sebastian's hand tensed, veins bulging. Who was it? He had a vague suspicion in his mind. As he spoke, he slowly turned to look at Selina. Selina was terrified out of her wits, but didn't dare to run. She owed so much debt that if she couldn't get the money from Sebastian, she'd be dead meat once they found out. Sebastian heard the servant report Selina's name. It was Ms. Selina, who deliberately smeared lipstick on herself, which Miss Rosalind mistook for something else. With things laid out like this, everything became crystal clear. They were all adults. Lipstick smeared on the body most closely resembled love bites. Selina watched as Sebastian hung up the phone, then turned around again and gestured to his assistant nearby. He said, "Take care of it, I don't want to see her again." The assistant understood immediately and quickly brought people over to restrain Selina, preventing her from crying and rushing toward him. Sebastian got into the car alone and sped off toward Rosalind's current residence as fast as possible. He had to find her, to clear up all the previous misunderstandings. Even if she still refused to forgive him or choose him, at least she wouldn't be with someone else so soon. But he was still too late. No matter how long Sebastian rang the doorbell, the house remained utterly silent, without the slightest sound. Unwilling to give up, he called out Rosalind's name. "Rosalind, it's me." A click sounded behind him. A nearby neighbor, unable to bear the commotion any longer, came out to check. He said to Sebastian, "Sir, please stop making noise." "There's no one there anymore." Sebastian froze on the spot. "Did they go out?" The neighbor shook their head. "No, they've moved out. They left not long ago, said they were going on a trip to get married with her boyfriend. Didn't you know?" Before he could finish speaking, Sebastian had already dashed out. Disappearing like a gust of wind, Sebastian drove himself to the nearest airport, calling Rosalind countless times along the way, yet every call went unanswered. Ringing until the automated voice message cut in, until the assistant called. "Mr. Sebastian, MS. Selina has accumulated massive online debts. The moment I sent her back to the country, the creditors took her away." Sebastian couldn't care less about Selina, merely gritting his teeth as he ordered, "Send people to nearby airports immediately. Even if we have to turn the entire place upside down, we must stop Rosalind." "Understood, Mr. Sebastian. By the way." Sebastian suddenly remembered something. Rosalind, when she flew from China to Milan, he couldn't find her boarding information. Rosalind might not have used her real name. She has a Singaporean passport. Check her English name. Jane Shu. Got it, I'll go right away. 3 days had passed, yet even after Sebastian sent all his men out to search, they still couldn't find any trace of Rosalind. Her disappearance was even more complete than the last time. Sebastian endured 3 sleepless days without food or water, quickly spreading the news to Mr. Dan. Mr. Dan, fearing something might happen to him, called specifically to advise Mr. Sebastian. As soon as the call connected, he urgently asked, "Is there any news about Rosalind?" "Alas, no. It's about you. You won't be able to keep going like this." Mr. Dan admonished, "Though I don't know how things between you siblings came to this, she was right about one thing. She's an adult now, with the right to decide her own future." Sebastian sat in the pitch-black room, silently listening to Mr. Dan's advice. He heard every word clearly, yet found himself unable to accept them. This time, Rosalind had left with such finality that even Mr. Dan didn't know her whereabouts. She truly wasn't going to give him another chance. Meanwhile, in a quaint little courtyard somewhere in the countryside, Rosalind was comfortably reclining on a rocking chair with her eyes closed, basking in the sunlight. Such fine sunshine had become rare since autumn arrived. Patrick was cleaning his photography equipment nearby. Seeing she seemed genuinely asleep, he quietly picked up the camera and took a photo. Rosalind's ears were particularly sharp at recognizing shutter sounds. She immediately sat up and leaned over, saying, "Let me see. If you've made me look ugly, I won't let it slide. Here, look." Patrick handed the camera to her. Rosalind finally smiled with satisfaction. "Your skills aren't bad, it looks quite nice. I forgive you." Patrick, seeing her in good spirits, smiled as well. "You forgot, I'm also Mr. Dan's student, and age-wise. I'm actually your senior brother." The two chatted and laughed together for quite a while, until a desolate autumn wind swept through the courtyard. Patrick recalled a pressing matter and said, "I spoke with Mr. Dan on the phone today. He mentioned your brother has practically turned all of Europe upside down searching for you, and he'll likely keep digging further. and, at this point, he deliberately observed Rosalind's expression, seeing her merely suppress a smile. He continued, "Mr. Dan also said your brother isn't doing well." Rosalind replied in a calm voice, "We're all adults now, everyone should learn to live their own lives." That was his choice. She lifted her gaze to the distant hillside ablaze with autumn colors and suggested, "Patrick, I'm thinking of packing up and heading into the mountains to photograph the autumn scenery here. Would you like to come with me?" Patrick naturally agreed. "Of course, wherever you want to go, I'll go with you." Rosalind smiled again. "I'm thinking of staying near the Alps for a while. How does that sound? Then I'll go pack our bags." Patrick was true to his word. "You can keep sleeping for a bit. I'll wake you when everything's ready." As they settled on their new travel destination, Sebastian sat alone in a dark room, flipping through documents in his hands. Only a wall lamp was lit in the room, casting his face in shadowy ambiguity. Like a vampire long confined to an ancient castle, the assistant knocked on the door from outside and reported, "Mr. Sebastian, as per your request, we've found several more candidates who meet the criteria." Sebastian finally said, "Come in." The assistant, fearful of provoking his temper, placed the documents down and immediately stepped aside, but Sebastian was clearly disinterested, as if these materials before him weren't at all what he had requested. Just as the assistant was on edge, he suddenly lit a cigarette, then his gaze fixed upon one particular document. The cigarette burned on its own, nearly reaching his fingers before he stiffly flicked it away only for it to land on the sofa the next second, almost burning a hole through it. The assistant was startled by Sebastian. "Mr. Sebastian." Sebastian snapped out of his daze, picked up the cigarette, and stubbed it out in the ashtray. He pulled out the dossier he had been studying for so long and handed it to his assistant, instructing her, "Give her some money and send her off to do whatever she wants." The photo in the dossier clearly showed a young girl who bore a striking resemblance to Rosalind. The assistant was baffled. "Aren't we bringing her here?" Sebastian frowned and asked, "What do you mean?" After the initial despair, he no longer frantically searched everywhere for traces of Rosalind. Instead, he adopted a different kind of madness, arranging for people to seek out girls who resembled Rosalind in both appearance and age. The assistant thought he couldn't accept the reality of losing Rosalind and wanted a substitute for comfort. But now, it seemed that assumption was wrong. Sebastian, seeing the assistant hesitate to speak further, lifted his desolate gaze to the empty space before him and murmured faintly, "I know what you're all thinking, but no one can replace her. What's lost is lost." After that day, he showed no intention of recovering, instead escalating his self-destructive behavior. He neither ate nor slept, only closing his eyes when exhaustion overwhelmed him, as if passing out. Even during moments when he appeared relatively lucid, his condition seemed far from normal. He would chain smoke frantically, as if seeking some form of release through it. The assistant, being Sebastian's close confidant, had no choice but to muster the courage to advise him, "Mr. Sebastian, I know you're grieving, but life must go on, forgive my bluntness. But if you continue this cycle of smoking and self-harm day and night, you'll likely collapse before we even hear any news about Ms. Rosalind." "That's fine too." Sebastian now dared not close his eyes at all. The moment he did, he would see Rosalind gazing at him with icy eyes. Even walking away resolutely, he asked bitterly, "If I were dying of illness, would she come back to see me once?" He truly missed Rosalind, missed her so much it was killing him. Other than that, "I simply can't focus on anything else." The assistant didn't dare say anything, so he tried a different approach. "Should we send private investigators to look for her again? There's no record of her leaving the country, so she must still be in Europe, maybe traveling somewhere." Sebastian, it would be a lie to say he wasn't tempted, but after a moment, his voice came out hoarse. "No need, she's determined to hide from me. Even if I force my way to her, I'll only be met with her cold stare. Besides, do I even have the right to face her?" Everything that had happened was his own doing. Had he trusted her just a little more, none of this would have come to pass. Time is the best healer. One Christmas a year later, after being back in the country for quite some time, Sebastian stepped into Rosalind's former residence for the first time. By his orders, the interior had been regularly cleaned and maintained. Not even a single trinket was allowed to deviate from its original position. Every corner of the room still bore traces of its former state, as if Rosalind had only just left minutes ago. Sebastian gave the cleaning lady an early leave, then personally picked up the cleaning tools, intending to tidy up the room for her. It was at this moment that the letter arrived. The courier had already left, with only the words on the envelope revealing its origin. Sebastian chased after the courier for a few steps, hoping to confirm the sender's contact information, but came up empty-handed. Helpless, he returned to the room and opened it. The content of the mail was simple, a postcard stamped with "Merry Christmas." Sebastian suddenly remembered that the day after tomorrow would be Christmas. No matter what happened in previous years, he and Rosalind had always spent Christmas together, but since last year, he had been alone. His assistant happened to arrive just then with the cleaning tools he had requested. Seeing him standing dumbfounded at the door reading emails, the assistant didn't dare disturb him rashly and instead waited quietly by his side. Only after he reacted first did she cautiously ask, "Mr. Sebastian, is this sent back by Miss Rosalind?" Sebastian held the letter and photo in his hand with extreme gentleness, as if afraid they might shatter. The photo tilted slightly downward, allowing the assistant to clearly see its subjects. Rosalind, dressed in a Santa Claus outfit, standing intimately with Patrick, making funny faces as they posed with a Christmas tree. Both were clearly pulling silly expressions, yet they looked utterly adorable. "This is bad, Mr. Sebastian would be utterly devastated," the assistant thought to himself, casting an increasingly cautious glance at Sebastian, not daring to offer any words of comfort, afraid of accidentally bringing trouble upon himself. Yet Sebastian was unprecedentedly composed. "Rosalind said she's doing very well now. She admitted she was once lost and desperate, even on the verge of giving up, but just when she couldn't hold on any longer, Patrick appeared. He gave her hope and the strength to keep going." He was both relaying to his assistant Rosalind's words and reminding himself she was doing well, and the last thing she needed was his disturbance, yet his voice gradually began to tremble. The assistant asked with concern, "Would you like to sit down and read it again?" Sebastian only then realized he had been standing for who knows how long. Reaching out to steady himself against the edge of the table, he sat down in an almost rigid posture, his back pressed tightly against the sofa as if all his strength had been drained in an instant. "Rosalind also said she hopes I can soon emerge from the shadows of the past and find my own happiness. Rather than trapping myself in a self-made prison, she truly still sees me as a brother." He looked at Rosalind's photo, wanting to smile at her, but no matter what, he couldn't bring himself to do it. In the end, he just raised his hand to cover his face, concealing all his emotions. The assistant, fearing he might repeat the mistakes of a year ago, pondered and came up with an idea. "Mr. Sebastian, give me the address. In just 10 minutes, we can confirm Ms. Rosalind's whereabouts. Even if she's already left, at least we'll know where she went." This was the best solution. Sebastian was almost instantly moved. He raised his hand, wanting to instruct his assistant to do something, but ultimately just shook his head and lowered his hand to pick up the photo again. "No need. She's already living the life she wanted. I'm fine, really fine." After saying this, he raised his head again and said to his longtime assistant, "You should go home for Christmas too. Consider it a holiday." The assistant didn't insist further. He put away his things and turned to leave the room that held the memories of Sebastian and Rosalind. Sebastian sat in stillness for so long that time itself grew indistinct. He thought he saw Rosalind push the door open, but it was merely an illusion. His fingers kept tracing over Rosalind's familiar handwriting. She had written, "Merry Christmas, brother." After an immeasurable lapse of time, he finally took out paper and pen himself, writing a brief reply, "Wishing you marital bliss, sister." The end.